r/askreddit. Women of Reddit. What is your trying to buy a car/item, but the seller is sexist story. I went to a dealership to purchase a car after mine was totaled in an accident. My father-in-law drove me because my husband was at work. This guy kept ignoring me and talking to my father-in-law. Even after every question was answered. I don't know what kind she wants. Ask her. And I have no idea what her budget is. I walked off, and he was still talking to my father-in-law, showing him a car. I walked up to another salesman and told him that guy apparently didn't want to sell women cars and asked if he did. He was glad to help me and kept smirking at sexist guy while filling out the paperwork. I think there was some rivalry there because my sales guy was very accommodating and even threw in 4 brand new tires. When we were buying a house, we told the lawyer to contact me. He kept contacting my husband instead and not even CCing me on emails. The problem was that my husband was working nights and sleeping during the day, so he wouldn't return calls or check his emails until the business day was already over. It was so frustrating. We actually had a deal fall through because the seller's broker did something shady and our lawyer's response came too late and was incompetent. When we bought our home, we used a different lawyer. I had a guy refuse to rent me an apartment because I'm a woman. I called to ask for details on the place, and he asked if it would be just me or if anyone else would be sharing the apartment. When I said no, it's just me, he told me a single lady shouldn't be living alone, and he would not rent to me. When I tried to insist on seeing the apartment, he yelled over me "God bless" and hung up. This was 2012. I wanted to buy a car that was present on the lot and not already in process with someone else. The kind of car where every dealership has 15 plus of that car because it's kind of their flagship. And while I was allowed to test drive it, it became clear to me that I was not going to be allowed to buy it. They told me they could sell me one, but it wasn't here yet. I was like, "Can you sell me that one?" Pointing to one on the lot. That was exactly what I was looking for. And they were like, "Oh no, not that one. That one is not the sport version." I'm looking at it, and I see the sport tag, and visible sport tier changes to the exterior. So I'm like, okay, you're weird. That's fine. I have another car to drive. Let me know when the good one comes in. I get a call. I go back to buy the car I asked for. The one that came in is the super luxury premium version. I say no. They've got another one. It's got wheel locks and an upgraded sound system. But hey, it's $500 off the $3,000 difference in price. I'm a dumb woman. That must sound like a good deal to me, right? I ask again if they are willing to sell me any of the many cars that meet my criteria on the lot. They tell me that none of those cars exist. I left and bought a car from another dealership in a different town. That guy said, "Yes, we have a car like that. It's this one. Would you like me to put your name on it?" "Okay, I'll have it detailed. Come test drive it this weekend to be sure, and I'll have the paperwork ready." Bought a car in one day after spending 2 weeks trying to buy one somewhere else. Car salesperson kept drifting the conversation over to my husband when I was buying a car. Car insurance kept emailing my husband about our joint car insurance policy instead of both of us. When my husband took his car off that policy, he sold it without replacing it. He kept getting all the emails instead of me. During wedding planning, I was addressed regarding all the details, and my husband was addressed regarding payments. Oh, and waiters always hand my husband the bill and the card machine, even if it's my card with Mrs. Keeney written on the card. A Honda dealer told me to come back with my husband. I'm not married and never have been. I called corporate to complain, but they didn't care. During my horse riding days, one guy wouldn't sell me a stallion because I was a woman and I couldn't handle him. The stallion needed a strong man like him. So strong. Much strong. What a manly man he is. Little lady like you can't handle the manly man horse. My stallions are too strong for you, traveler. Was once in a car crash and spent the next day sorting out panel beating, etc. Went to get the front axle realigned. The guy was incredibly condescending and questioned me for a couple of minutes with questions such as, "Now why do you think it's out of alignment, sweetie?" Got really fed up and just asked him to follow me out to the car, where he went quiet and admitted it was bent. He would have only been a couple years older than me, 22. For me, I experience a lot more sexism while I'm doing the selling, not the buying. At work I often have to carry large heavy beams of wood. Obviously, since that is part of my job, I have no trouble with it, but far too many idiots see that I'm a little short and female and try to grab the wood as I'm lifting it without asking or telling me that is what they are doing. This is very dangerous, and I've been injured before because they threw the balance off and dropped the weight into the side of my neck rather than onto my shoulder as it should be. My male friend moved into a new apartment and asked for my help putting up some shelves. He is the least handy person ever. I replaced a doorknob and he looked at me like I was a wizard. I have worked as a theatrical carpenter. We went to Home Depot to buy a bracket. The shelf he ordered online was missing one. I knew exactly what we needed and where to find it. But while we were discussing something else in that aisle, a salesman came to help. He addressed every statement and question to my male friend even after my friend repeatedly said she's the one doing it. I'm not handy at all. This kind of thing happens to me a lot when I'm by myself, but I thought it was interesting that it kept happening with a man there saying she knows what she's talking about and I'm an idiot. Stop talking to me. My favorite story along these lines was the time my hubby and I went to GameStop to buy me a tiny Xbox 360 wireless controller for my tiny hands. The male clerk asked my husband what he needed. I said, "I need one of those small wireless 360 controllers." He then asked my husband what games I like to play. My husband said, "My wife can answer her own questions, thanks. I usually order online for this reason." I went to GameStop the other day because it was on my way home from another errand and I needed a PS4 controller. The guy simply could not understand that it was for me. Just didn't compute. He was more baffled to learn that I had broken the trigger on my old one playing Apex, lol. Like, one of the most popular battle royale games around. Really? You're having a hard time believing that? It was extremely weird. Like, what year is this? I was at an airport duty-free shop looking for a decent bottle of whiskey to get as a Christmas present for a friend. Shop employee came up and asked me what I was looking for. I told him I was deciding on a bottle of whiskey. He asked if it was for a man or woman and I responded, kind of puzzled, "Why does it matter?" He told me it mattered a lot because women only like sweet drinks, and then in response to the totally baffled look on my face, asked me to explain why, if it wasn't true, women like Coca-Cola so much. I just, what? Women only liking sweet drinks is a common and irritating stereotype, but his reasoning that women like Coca-Cola, the most popular soda in the world, what? Okay. And is he implying that men don't like Coke? Coke Zero was made just to be more marketable to men and it's even sweeter than normal Coke. As a female gamer who majored in Comp C and sold electronics at Toys R Us during college, I don't think a day went by where I wasn't talked down to about technology by someone. But the absolute strangest one wasn't as a buyer, but came from an older lady who was looking to buy Studio Ghibli movies. I'm also a huge anime fan, so I was excited to recommend my favorites and ones she and her grandkids might like, but she just refused to talk to me and kept asking if there was another employee who knew about this kind of stuff. She eventually caught eye of my long-haired male coworker and was like, "He looks like he would know," and went off to ask him. He knew nothing about anime, but when he finally figured out what she was talking about, I saw his face light up. "Oh, you should ask Eka over there, she knows all about that stuff." And she stomped off without another word. My mum recently went to purchase her first new car from a dealer and brought my dad along with her. They looked around, a dealer met them, and mum said she was after this type of car. The dealer proceeded to show cars like that to dad, following him all around the car yard selling away, so mum left and went and bought one from a different dealer that wasn't sexist and ignoring her. Mum was pretty ducked off because she's never been in a position to buy a new car before this and was super excited, but this dealer just wanted to cater to dad. This exact same thing happened with my parents when they went together to buy a new car for my mom. After she stormed out, my dad apparently turned to the salesman and said, "You've just cost yourself a sale there, mate," and walked out after her. Not a woman, but it's a relevant story. Took my female so to the immunologist because she works with bees and was having bad reactions to the stings. They said they might need to do a 4-hour test to determine some stuff, and she should bring someone to drive her home in case she has a bad reaction while driving. I brought a book and sat in the corner, not paying attention. She sat directly in front of him, across from his desk, like you normally might if you're meeting with someone who has an appointment with you. Doc kept talking louder than normal, and I eventually noticed that he was directing his questions towards me. My so would answer him, then he would ask me another question pertaining to her health. He wasn't even looking at her. When he did address her, he'd call her honey and sweetie and such. Eventually, I had to cut him off and remind him that it was not me who scheduled the appointment, rather the adult woman in front of him who he was ignoring to shout at the guy trying to read in the corner. After the appointment I was fuming. So said, "Welcome to my world." A couple of years ago I went into my local gaming store to buy an Xbox One. I had my husband with me as I didn't want to be walking around town on my own with a games console, as that's asking to be mugged. Despite me asking for the console and paying for it, the guy serving me absolutely refused to speak to me, talking over my head to my husband, who was behind me. He wouldn't even look at me and even used the prefix sir, as in would you be interested in protecting your console sir, / would you like to buy an Xbox Live subscription to go with it sir. Making it absolutely clear that he didn't want to deal with me at all. My husband told him 3 times that I was the one interested in buying the console, and he still kept doing it in a really arrogant way. He either wasn't listening or really didn't give a shit. I was so annoyed at his attitude towards me. There was one of those survey things on the end of the receipt, so I did the survey telling the company about my experience and I never got a response back. A few months later the company was having financial difficulty and they closed down a bunch of shops, with that one being one of the first, because it wasn't profitable, which I'm really not shocked by. I was in a hardware store looking for some screws after one got messed up during an installation. I had the screw I needed in hand and was looking at the selection. A male employee comes up and asks me if I need help. I say no, just looking for what I need. He starts to ask questions about what I need, blah blah. I finally give in and show him the screw. He asks what it's for. I tell him. He proceeds to tell me that I'm looking for the wrong thing and hands me a packet of screws that are entirely different from what I need. I just say thanks and walk away, waiting for him to leave the aisle. After he was gone, I went back and traded the pack out. I'm the wife and I always buy the car. The last time my hubby was living in one town and I was living in another town for temporary work reasons, and he went to the dealership to try used cars. When he made his choice he told the sales guy he was going to have to talk to the wife about the sale. So I get on the phone with the guy and proceed to tell him what we will pay for the car. Used, for yo, 40k me Prius. He did the I gotta talk to my manager routine 3 times trying to upsell me, but I just kept telling him what I would pay for the car out the door. He even tried adding stylish racing lines and heated seats, and I said, "Aren't those things already on the car?" My hubby said they are already on the car, why are they extra? After that, he just gave me the car for what I asked in the first place. We have done this routine for years as my hubby hates to haggle. I also am a retired farmer sales rep. Mine's not buying a car, but totally worth mentioning in this thread, but I was the only female in the class for auto crimes. Learn how to identify stolen vehicles and recover chassis numbers that have been removed, etc. I got partnered up with a male traffic officer. We inspect an Opel which had been rebadged to be a Nissan. Knowing that they are the same, I pointed out that they are trying to disguise that it was a Japanese import. Traffic officer says no, the Nissans are just like that sometimes, and marks that on our chart. The assessor goes through each examination in front of the whole class. He points out it's actually an import. Examiner tells me that I need to take more interest in vehicles and need to go to all the local dealers to learn more about make and models. I look at the traffic officer and wait for him to clarify it was his mistake. Surprise, he didn't. Guess who got the highest pass rate of the class? Yep, the lone female. I'm in tech and needed a new laptop. Now everything I do is online, so a Chromebook was perfect. The store guy was talking over me, didn't let me finish my sentences, and kept explaining that I should have a real laptop, even though I tried telling him I know what I'm talking about, and no I don't. It was super annoying, because I could tell he did it, because I'm a woman and obviously can't know anything about computers or laptops. I was honest, and told him, my dude, I lost count of the times you talked over me. I know which one I want, and it is highly annoying that you don't take my word for it and disregard everything I say. It could easily be that I know more about these things than you, because it has been my job for years. I'll get my laptop somewhere else. Still infuriates me to think about it. I was trying to deal with a phone shop that contracted some of their repair work out to a third party. They needed me to leave the phone with them overnight so it could be fixed. Due to my work schedule, I wouldn't be able to pick it up for 2 weeks and I didn't want to be without it that long. I asked if it was possible for me to swing by the third-party repair shop myself, and he hemmed and hawed and then said yes, but refused to give me the address because I was female and it was in a rough neighborhood. He demanded that my boyfriend come by the shop to get the address because he didn't think a female should be unaccompanied. Unaccompanied anywhere, it was implied, but especially not in that neighborhood. Anyway, I did eventually cause enough of a scene to get the repair shop's business card and went myself. The area might be worse at night when most of the offices were closed, but in the middle of the afternoon, it just looked like an ordinary business park. I ordered a rifle, and that salesman was fine. When I went to pick it up once it was in, I said I'm here to pick up a rifle I ordered. The man working that day said, is it a pink one? Not, what is your name? What is your order number? What is the make or model? But, is it a pink one? No, it was not a pink one. Thanks for watching, you internet people.